It's the end of the day with Ray. Hello, my friends. You know, when I speak in public, I use Niccolo Machiavelli's famous quote a lot of times. I started out. I'm going to do that today, and I want you all to listen to this real carefully because there's a part of this quote that I really love that pertains so much to the document imaging channel. Here's the quote, said in 1513. There's nothing harder to take in hand, more peerless to conduct, or more uncertain in its success than to take the lead in the introduction of a new order of things. Because the innovator has for enemies those who have done well under the old conditions, and lukewarm defenders, and those who may do well under the new. If you're in the document imaging channel, will you please slap yourself in the face if you're one of these lukewarm defenders of innovation? Let me define a lukewarm defender of innovation. That's that executive that hangs around in the building collecting a paycheck because they don't want to disturb anything. And they just figure, well, as long as I just continue kind of doing what I'm doing, I can hide behind these walls and I'll still get paid. And I don't need to be innovative. I don't need to be outspoken. I'm just going to kind of hang out here a little while longer. And then maybe one day I'll go out and become a consultant. Well, here's the deal, my friends. If you can't disrupt the place that you work at where there's a little bit of comfort, if you can't disrupt that, you're never going to be able to disrupt anything when you're on your own. It just will not happen. You'll go out there with great ambitions, great ambitions, kind of like Konicka's ambitions over the last 10 years when they bought All Covered. We're going to do this, knock it out of the park. But you'll go out there with these great ambitions, and then you'll realize, man, this is some hard work. You'll realize that all the bills got to get paid by you. You'll realize you better be able to bring some value or you're not going to make any money. You'll realize that, boy, being boisterous and innovative is pretty tough work. So here's what I suggest you do while you're inside these organizations. You got nothing to lose, folks. If you're one of those lukewarm, defenders of innovation, in other words, I'll go either way. I'll just hide in here. Why don't you start really standing up? Why don't you start really screaming loud? Why don't you start really shaking shit up? The worst thing that'll happen is you'll get fired. But at least you got some training for what's to come when you go out on your own. Because, ladies and gentlemen, it's not about being nice and calm and peaceful. It's about shaking things up when a market is in massive decline, massive consolidation. I've talked a lot about this. Friendships are going to get tested. Competitors are going to be more competitive than they ever were. You're going to have OEMs picking winners and losers. I'm thinking about all the dealers, and I said this yesterday, all these dealers that have been loyal to Konica Minolta, when they give away the business to somebody else, and they're going to say, I thought I should have got that. I've been buying all your OEM toner forever. I've done everything you said, Mr. Konica. How come you're not giving me that business? Well, because they wanted to give it to somebody else, because you weren't really that important to them. You were a vehicle to get things into the marketplace. And they just decided that they wanted a better vehicle. And you and Konica both defined a better vehicle differently. So ladies and gentlemen, it's just a warning for all those executives out there that are lukewarm in their defense of innovation. Knock that shit off. And start challenging status quo like never before. Start standing up and saying, you know what, we're going to do this. We're going to do it this way. We can do it. And then get your team and muster that esprit de corps and go do something. Quit hanging around. It's so frustrating to watch this. Let me just hang around and none of this will change. Ray won't be right until I'm retired. Remember that video I did and I brought out that big retirement cake? It was a digital cake and I said I was going to email it, take a big bite of it and get the hell out of the way and allow some other people to come in and move the channel and move the dealerships and move the OEMs in a different direction, a direction for continuous relevance. That's my warning, my friends. If you're one of those lukewarm defenders of innovation, if you're an executive sitting in the walls of your building collecting a paycheck because you're afraid to do anything because you might get fired, guess what? As this thing consolidates, you're going to be the first one to go. Just something to think about because we all know this, status quo is the killer of all that'll be invented. Don't get stuck in status quo, and I'll see you all tomorrow.